Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Brianna Van Velzen. I will be your tech help as usual during this meeting today. I just wanted to let you know if you have any issues, please privately message me. This will be a recorded meeting. And if you need any help, please message me. Also, please keep yourselves on mute unless you're part of the agenda you've been called on. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat. If you have a comment, you can put it in the chat. You can also use the raise your hand feature. And if you just get really excited, there are reaction buttons on the bottom taskbar. So does anyone have any questions? All right, thank you.
Hey, Will.
Hey, it's good to see everybody. And I will add my word of welcome. And we're waiting a minute or two to let folks join us because folks are continuing to pile in on the meeting. And Rosa, I just want to make sure you're here.
I am.
Okay, good. So maybe in one more minute or two more minutes, you can take over and take us away.
All right, we'll do.
All right.
I can hear you, Will.
I'll mute.
Okay.
That's a good reminder to stay on mute. Thank you.
Brenda. Oh, look at I see so many super duper friends on here. I haven't seen in a minute. Oh my God.
Okay, Rosa.
Okay. You know, I'm just so excited. Good morning or good afternoon. I went briefly through this and I see so many super duper friends that I have not heard or seen in a minute. So I want to say welcome as a member of this awesome team, the Coalition for Affordable Housing and Transit. Um, this Monday, I want to welcome the commissioners, Brenda Howerton, Chair, whoop whoop, and Wendy Jacob, Vice Chair, and the awesome team they have supporting them. So I look forward to a productive meeting, and we're here to represent the people voices that we have taken the time to have a relationship with. We would like to finish this by 1 o'clock. And I know Dan, he is going to make sure you stay on task and that we get it done nicely. In the end, I will share some last minute things such as future events and meetings, and then we will adjourn. I would ask first if you could tell me, will we put these dates in the chat room or should everyone be able to see this on the agenda?
Well, I think everybody's been emailed the agenda that has all those dates for future meetings,
Cool. Okay.
but I will try later on to put it into the chat as well, Rosa.
Okay. Appreciate it, guys. I'm looking forward to a wonderful conversation. Welcome, welcome. If you will, Dan, it is you.
Rosa,
Actually, I think
what we might do first is, if it's okay, is have the spotlight with Mr. Pierce from Housing for New Hope, if he's
Wow,
on.
Mr. Pierce, thank you. What a good team. Appreciate it. They gave me this responsibility, but they promised to help me. So yes, Mr. Pierce, please excuse me. Could you please share with us now and please excuse me for overlooking you. Thank you. Are you unmuted?
I'm looking, and I'm not sure that he's on our call yet. So
No, I didn't
Dick,
see
you
him.
want to get in touch with him? And
yeah, I just called him. I'll try him back again. I don't
all
see him
right,
on the call either.
and let Rosa know. Okay, Rosa.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I know I ran through it quickly, didn't see him. This is Calvin Pierce. He's on. Are you unmuted?
Russell
I'm
Pierce,
looking.
Housing New Hope.
That's not him here.
No, it's Russell Pierce, I think, but
Ah,
we'll
okay.
try and get
Okay.
word. Okay.
Very good. Well, in the meantime, should we continue with what or what's the plan?
Yep. call on Dan, just like you're fixing to do, is a good idea.
All right.
Yeah.
Dan, I appreciate if you would kind of get us going forward. And I think afterwards you would know when to call in Mr. Pierce, okay?
Yeah, just let me know when you see he's on and we'll stop. But I want to start out again and just take a minute to describe the evolution of county government in Durham since I've been here in Durham. I came here 44 years ago this month to be the director of the Durham County Department of Social Services. And the changes that have occurred in those 44 years can be best illustrated by looking at what county government looked like when I came and what it is today. Some things are very much the same. We have a county manager form of government. We have 5 elected county commissioners that run countywide at large. And they meet on the 2nd and 4th Monday of each month. That's not where the similarities end. You'll find out that today they have not 2-year terms, but 4-year terms. And the most of those meetings that occurred at 10 o'clock on Monday morning lasted anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. The reason for that is this county was controlled by 4 white men, 3 white county commissioners, and a white county manager that had been here for over 30 years. And it was often said that the county manager was never surprised by a decision made on Monday morning. The reason for that was that he met with the 3 white county commissioners on Saturday, and they decided what would happen on Monday morning. So you can see we've seen a sea change in the way in which we've operated. Now, there were 2 other members at the time. One was Elma Spalding, part of the Spalding family that's very involved with North Carolina Mutual Insurance, and their children have been active in our community. And the other was a young engineer with IBM by the name of Bill Bell. And those 2 members during that period of time until the early 80s, they really didn't have a lot of power on the Board of Commissioners. It could easily be described as a good old boy system. But let's fast forward to today. There's not a white male in any of those positions, not a white male on the commission or as a manager. And what we have, I think, is the most diverse county commission in the state, and certainly the most progressive one. And Brenda can correct me on this, but it may be the only all-female county commission. Is that right, Brenda? So, geez.
So we were the first. There are some others. I know there's one up in Asheville right now, but we were the first ones to be sworn in.
Okay, great. I'm not surprised, but I think what we see today is we have a county government that's equitable and inclusive, respects the differences of opinion, is responsive to community needs, and the greatest example of that is the decision to build affordable housing on East Main Street. And the resources and the time and effort went into that. So I want to start by recognizing that accomplishment and to say that it's a pleasure to be in a county that's made the changes that we've made. And I'm proud to have served in Durham County. 4th county I've worked in, by far the most progressive and I think the most effective of the commissions I've worked with. So Brenda, with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to you. And I think we're hoping to find out a little bit about what the plans are for affordable housing and transit in Durham. And I want to welcome you. And we've got all 5 of your commissioners here. So I'm not sure how you want to structure it. We have actually 40 minutes, but we want to take at the end at least 10 minutes for questions. I've had several people here submit questions, and if others want to, put them in the chat and I'll try to find them before we get to that part of the meeting. But you've basically got a good 30 minutes now, but welcome Brenda and the rest of the commissioners. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Dan, and what a great buildup that you just gave all the commissioners. So it is absolutely my honor and privilege to be with you today. And I'm not here alone. I'm here along with the other 4 commissioners. So what I'd like to do is just talk for a few minutes and talk about housing, transit, and then have the rest of the commissioners be able to make comments, and then introduce our staff. We have our staff with us as well we have the experts to make sure that your questions that you have you get all the information that you would like to get from us today. So I'd like to start out with, there's a quote that says, in Durham, my dream is that everyone has a place to call home that's safe, stable, affordable, and equitable. That everybody, and housing is one of the major issues that we have right now. And we're hearing that due to this pandemic. And it's not just a pandemic, this pandemic has made it even worse as to where people live. So as I say that, the county was not one that took on housing until recently. The 300 and 500 East Main mixed use redevelopment is one of the things that we're proud of that we are undertaking right now. And after extensive public engagement, the Board of County Commissioners adopted the principles and endorsed a plan for the redevelopment of the East 300 and East Main Street. And that project is coming along and we are totally excited about that. The other thing, I want to talk a little bit about transit. The county is working with Go Triangle and other region partners on a preliminary study of the Greater Triangle commuter rail project. A project funded in a current Durham transit plan. And some of the critical issues of both are developing a plan that addresses all or most of Durham's transit needs over the next 20 years within the budget available funding. We have both local and regional transit needs that need to be addressed. We need to have a resilient plan that includes many short-term and long-term improvements. And the scenarios for the research has not been completed yet. It should be complete. I think the last I heard was sometime in March. So we have a lot of work to do around the transit and transformational plan. I just started on the Go Triangle board. I've been to one meeting so far. So there is a lot going on, and I want to make sure that your questions get answered by staff. And I know that my vice chair, Wendy Jacobs, has been on that board quite some time. She probably has some answers for you as well. And I have others that I can talk to you about, but I don't want to take up too much time just rattling on. I want the other commissioners to be able to have a chance to address you and then for you to get your questions answered. Does that work for you? That work, Dan? Okay, cool.
Not
That's great. Thank
interrupting,
you.
Dan, I'm not interrupting because I'm a time person. And I know you commissioners love to share, but please save room for questions, okay? We want to hear from you, but please save room for questions. Okay, Dan?
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that.
Did I do okay on timing?
You did great.
Okay, cool.
You did great, Brenda.
Usually they cut me off, so I'm happy for you to do that. Thank you.
Okay. So Wendy, would you like to go next?
Sure. Thank you so much, Brenda. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for having us here today. And just to carry on from what Chair Howerton has shared with you all, exciting about the 300 and 500 moving along, which we're starting with the parking deck on the 300 block very soon. We will have childcare facility that is a part of that project as well, which is really, really exciting. We are also funding, and staff can correct me on the amount, I think it's about $75,000. I actually can't remember the exact amount that we are funding for housing repair in collaboration with the city of Durham. And we think this is really important for keeping people in their homes, for allowing, this is really focused on seniors, but keeping long-term homeowners, low-income homeowners in their homes. The updating of the comprehensive land use plan and the transit plan that is happening right now is so, so important. I don't think that we can talk about transit separately from jobs or from housing. They are all inextricably linked. We need to be able to get people to good paying jobs so that they can support themselves and pay for their housing. So I think I'm really glad you're asking about both of these things. And we know that they're linked because if people are paying more than 45% of their income on housing, utilities, and transportation, that's too much. And we already have too many people in Durham that are in that position. As you know, we are facing an eviction crisis, rental crisis, and this is something we all have to keep our eyes on, especially in the next few months and then in the recovery from the pandemic. And I think that we really need to look at the TAG program again. We are going to be discussing it at our upcoming budget retreat because we only had one homeowner use the tax deferral program. And again, when we look at the needs that we're going to have in our community and, increase, we don't know what revenues are going to be. We want to make sure that if we raise taxes, that it, again, is not going to impact our lowest income homeowners. I will say I'm passionate about all three of these interests. As right now I'm serving as chair of the DSS board, our MPO board, and also our joint city county planning committee. And again, for me, this is the intersection of all three of these issues in our community. So we have to keep, I know that the county will keep playing a very strong role. We have been blessed by literally 8 jobs announcements during this pandemic, and they are good paying jobs, a lot of them in RTP, and we've got to have a way to get people to these jobs. So I'm going to stop here and pass on more comments from the rest of our commissioners. Thank you. And I don't know, I'll play tag here. I'll let it pass it back to you, Chair, to decide who speaks next.
Commissioner Long, would you like to go next?
Sure.
And then we'll go from you to, we'll fit the new ones in the middle and then end up with Commissioner Carter.
Okay, sounds good. It's so great to be here with everyone. Thank you so much for organizing this event. And I could repeat everything that our chair and vice chair Jacobs have said, but I think they've covered a lot of where Durham's priorities are. And it's really exciting to be elected as a commissioner now, as they've mentioned, in a time where Durham County wasn't really in the business of affordable housing, but now we have the 300 and 500 block of East Main Street. And we're going to be able to start seeing new innovative ways that Durham County can really be leaders in affordable housing. And as Commissioner Jacobs mentioned, you can't talk about affordable housing and transit and economic development siloed from each other. They're all intertwined. And as commissioners, we continue to see like different companies come to us with opportunities of growing their offices here. And one of the questions we always come to as a board and we always discuss is, how do we make sure that these jobs are going to be prioritized for people of Durham to have access to it? Because we can have economic development, but are the people of Durham actually able to seek out access to these jobs? And transportation is going to be a key part of that. And education also is a key connector to transportation and to affordable housing. And I'm really excited to see how we can improve. As Commissioner Jacobs mentioned, there's only one person who's been taking advantage of our tax assistance grant program. But as we know, there's plenty of people in Durham who could greatly benefit from programs like this, and really supporting and doing outreach to communities across Durham to make sure they know what services are available. And when it comes to transportation, it's not just looking at, we consider transportation for people who are getting to their day-to-day jobs, but there's also people who use transportation for access to education. I remember early last year, I had heard from a friend that one of her neighbors in public housing, she had been able to enroll her daughter in the universal pre-K program here in Durham. But with the way our program is structured, you're not able to choose the closest location to you. So she would wake up at the break of dawn, take her child on a public bus all the way across town to universal pre-K. And then she'd have to catch on the bus in the complete opposite direction to get all the way back to her job. And that is a huge transit equity problem when we have parents who are doing everything they can to provide the best access to education for their children, but there's so many roadblocks. So we really need to take a holistic view of how transportation and housing impact everyone at every stage of their life. I will popcorn it to Commissioner Burns.
Thank you, Commissioner Long. Much like the way you started, I really could sit here and echo everything that our chair and our vice chair said, but that's not what people came here for today. We really need to be we can be optimistic, but I'm a pragmatist. We also have to be very realistic. You know, that notion of if you build it, they will come, that does not work in Durham. It does not. I see you shaking your head, Ms. Anderson. You and I on the same page. You know, we can build every job. We can build every train. We can build, you know, I think Commissioner Howerton probably said it best on the campaign trail one day. She says there are children who have never been to South Point because they don't think they have nice enough clothes. There are people who have been downtown who don't go downtown because they don't think they have nice enough clothes. I'm pretty sure for some of the people on this call, that notion sounds ridiculous, but it is a very real reality for some of the people here. So we can have the shiniest buses, the ones that are sustainable and cost 3 times as much as gas-powered buses. But if we don't have people in this community who even feel comfortable stepping up on them, we really have to rethink what our strategy is on connecting with those people. So what I will say is, I'll quote Congressman Price. He made a good point in saying that what we need right now so that we don't have a failure in the process with transportation again is a serious regrouping, so that we can look at what and I'm paraphrasing, so that we can have a viable plan. So I have been happy with some of the things that I have seen, but I have to echo Commissioner Alam. We actually right now, you know, when we
Froze.
Hers seems to be, Commissioner Burns seems to be frozen.
Yeah. Let's want to see if we can go to Commissioner Carter.
Okay, yeah, we can do that and come back. Commissioner Carter.
I feel like I'm interrupting Commissioner Burns, but I guess she'll know. I'm not trying to step on her time space here. Well, it's great to be with you all today. It's wonderful to see you, even if you're in squares instead of in person. And thank you for organizing this. As always, I think that the Coalition for Affordable Housing and Transit does a great job at educating our community and advocating for 2 of the most important systems, actually, that are determinants of shared prosperity that we all want to see in Durham. And the great thing about going last is my 4 colleagues have said a lot of the important points. I would just add that I think that with transit and with housing, our guiding principles of racial equity and environmental sustainability are in harmony. And that's, you know, one key reason why it's really critical that we focus a lot on these 2 systems. I would add the education system to that as well. But these are two important systems that we need to heavily invest in order to promote racial equity and environmental sustainability. As far as housing priorities go, in addition to continuing to oversee the construction of the affordable housing at 300 and 500 Main Street, I really do believe that a key priority this year for us needs to be reconsideration of the county's creation of a welfare program to promote, of a social service program to promote the welfare of our residents in the form of a tax assistance grant. So I hope that we will be taking another look at that. We have learned again that there are precedents for this, and we know even more about a program in Charlotte now. Of course, the city has its own similar program to a tax assistance grant in the South Side neighborhood. So I just really believe this will be a key policy action to promote long-term low-income homeowners being able to stay in their homes in neighborhoods that are gentrifying, and also to build wealth. So when we talk about shared prosperity, homeownership is a very important mechanism for building wealth. And then as far as transit goes, I am really looking forward to the results of the robust outreach that's going on around both our comprehensive plan and also the Durham County Transit Plan. For me personally, I know that I'm going to be struggling with how to prioritize our dollars that are coming in through the transit tax. How do we both invest in a robust local, bus system with more frequent, more reliable service, and especially when we know that this bus system serves primarily people of color and people who do not have cars. So it's vital that we make sure our local system is very strong. At the same time, we know that we've got to get people out of cars. There's an urgent shift away from carbon emissions. We've got to stop driving as much. All of us do. So, and there's a lot of traffic, of course, between Raleigh and Durham. And so we need to also look at balancing our local needs with also funding for regional transit, strong regional transit system. So the commuter rail transit, and also we've got to do something along the Durham Orange Light Rail Transit line, where we're not going to have the light rail. Well, what are we going to do there? So those are going to be important decisions that I think we're all going to need to think about going forward. And I will continue to look to you all, this coalition that works so hard on these issues of housing and transit. I'm also believe we need to learn more about the need in Durham for more transitional housing and permanent supportive housing, something that we haven't mentioned thus far, but I think I know there are voids there, and we need to think about that as well. And I also am very, real quickly, very interested in not just bus service when I talk about local transit, but a connected network of protected lanes where people can have active transit. We can walk, we can bike, we can roll in other ways. But I believe, while we must have strong regional transit, that's going to cost a lot of money and it's going to take a lot of time, and we can't do the regional transit at the expense of some of these things that we can deploy more rapidly here and begin to use now, and especially those among us who don't have cars. So anyway, strong transit, strong housing makes for a more vibrant community where we can all be healthier, happier, and share in prosperity more, more equitably share Durham's prosperity. So thank you all. I'll be looking to you for your leadership and guidance.
Thank you. Let's go back to Commissioner Burns, who got cut off. I think you're on, so let's follow up with your final thoughts.
Good. I just would, again, like to continue to say, I just want to make sure that when we have groups making recommendations, that those recommendations are legal, that they are well thought out, because, it's no one's fault. I remember the plan last year. I remember when Dr. Winder sent it out. I just want to make sure that, thank you, Netta, you're my real friend. I just want to make sure that we come up with plans for people that people can actually take advantage of. There's a reason why only one person applied for that program. And I see some of you nodding. There is a reason, and I brought it up last year when I was at this meeting, and I hope I can bring that back up this year, and it will be heard. We got an update on the transit plan the other day, and they said we got 50 more bus stops coming. Did anybody think about the fact that there was no bus that went from Central to Merck or to Trayburn so that those students could take advantage of those opportunities? How did that not get put into plan? Did we not think about the fact that everybody wants to talk about bus drivers and classified employees, but we don't even have bus stops at all the high schools? Everybody in Durham doesn't have a car. And so these are the types of things that I'm going to bring forth. And I wish I could do it with a smile on my face like every other commissioner. But until we get it done, this is the face that you're going to get. And so I encourage you. Look, Dr. Winders knows she had me as a student. She's the one. Matter of fact, she graded my master's thesis. She knows I don't play games. And so I would just encourage you all, come to us early on. Don't just submit things to us that have not been looked at. Everybody wants to talk about, evictions and the crisis. I know some of the players at the table. We have some bad actors on both sides. Before you send us a recommendation, you all need to know that every nonprofit is not doing what they're saying that they're doing as far as evictions go. And evictions are no longer an issue of the uber poor. We have been in this pandemic for over a year. It is now an issue of the middle class. And if we do not treat it that way, we will continue to see thousands upon thousands of people get foreclosed on and get evicted. So we really have to change our thinking around this thing. And I encourage you all to get on this bus, get on this train, and ride with me. And also, if you are at a table, if you are sitting at a table and you have been on an advisory commission for multiple terms and you don't ride the bus, get off the commission. Because somebody who does ride the bus needs to have their voice at that table. And we miss that a lot. I sit in a lot of rooms with folks that don't ride buses, that haven't lived in affordable housing. I'm not saying you have to leave. You could be an engineer, you could be anything. Make room for that other person. We are not doing that in Durham. We have not done that for years in Durham. And that's not to me saying this in this room, because this room is pretty diverse. But think about how many tables we have where we talk about transit. We have 30 million committees and public interest groups in Durham, and we got the same people sitting on them. So I encourage you all, if you all see that there's something missing, be that voice, whether you be black or white, and say, you know what? I don't think we're getting the whole picture here, because if we did, we wouldn't have a transit equity problem. We wouldn't have an affordable housing problem, because we would have been able to fix it by now. And we wouldn't be sitting up here worried about how we can make sure we have bus stops everywhere, because those voices would have been there. That's all I'm asking everybody on this call to do. And I'm asking you all to include us with that. And I'll end on this. Include the commissioners that you don't even know. We are elected to serve for 4 years for all of Durham. Mm-hmm. Treat us like it. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That was
So
great.
Dan,
Dan,
I'd love to have an opportunity to introduce our staff that's here to support you.
Sure.
Is that okay?
Sure.
So we have Perry Mann. Perry is our Deputy Director of Engineering and Environment. He's here with us. Ellen Beckman on Transit is here. I saw Janine Gordon is here, and Drew Cummins. Are there any other staff? I think those are our staff folks that are here this morning or this afternoon now, that can assist in your questions.
Thank you. Thank you. That's great. And timing is just perfect. But I think somebody must have hacked my computer, because you've covered every question that we had on the list. So in any case, we'll start with the top of the list that I have here, and others may come in on the chat. And if they do, I'll try to get to them. But the first one has to do with evictions, and you might not be surprised it came from Marissa Seibel. Durham residents are being evicted for past due rent, which puts them at risk of getting COVID. But soon Durham County will have more emergency rental assistance to help tenants pay rent. Orange County paused evictions for rent. Would you ask Durham judges to pause evictions for rent so people can get help to stay in their own homes during COVID? And she submitted another statement about the fact that they have actually heard several evictions in the last week. So we obviously have not paused them in Durham, where the commissioners agreed to take a lead in encouraging judges to pause evictions until we can, make sure that we've got, where we have the resources, we can step in and help folks before they do get evicted.
And this is Larissa. I just wanted to say that I reached out to Judge Patricia Evans, our Chief District Court Judge, and she says she will be convening a meeting on evictions, but I do hope that you still reach out to Judge Evans and our other judges to encourage them to pause evictions so people have a chance to stay in their homes. And I really appreciate all the and transit at the top of your agendas. You're exactly right on how important that is for low-income residents to be able to have quality and affordable homes, and also quality affordable transit, and they need to be on the boards. You're right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So
Brenda, do you want to respond, or?
Janine, would you like to have anything to say on that one?
I think if we can persuade our chief judge to stop evictions or to stop hearing evictions, at least until we can get our next rental assistance program up, which is just a matter of weeks at this point. I think that would be a great idea to move towards. We're about to bring in another large rental assistance program that it is much larger than the ones we've had in the past. So we're excited about that, but we don't want to lose anyone along the way because an eviction was filed and heard, and it was in between two programs that could have helped. So if we can get a ruling on that, I don't know if they do official rulings, but if they can do any sort of agreement or basically saying that they won't hear these cases, that would be awesome.
Could I ask a quick question? Just about show of hands, how many people on here have law degrees? I know I'm not being funny. There are some things I hear this question, but I don't think you all understand all the little idiosyncrasies that go along with it. I look at these contracts right now, and I know that a lot of my mentors are going to get me because I hate to bring my professional life into my political life, but there are some things I don't think that folks are thinking of when they ask this question. For a lot of the programs that individuals sign up for, whether it be the guidance, executive order given by the governor, whether it be the guidance given by the CDC, whether it be participants in these individual programs, because I want you all to understand there are a lot of programs that are running right now for eviction and utilities help. There's probably about 40, 60 running right now in the state. A lot of these programs have caveats that say you cannot be evicted. The person can't be evicted for non-payment. People can still be evicted for crimes. If somebody shoots somebody, they can still be evicted. If somebody is human trafficking, they can still be evicted. So I want us to be very careful how we set up this narrative, because there have been some really bad contracts written. And also realize that when Justice Cherie Beasley stopped papers last year, that was essentially what stopped a lot of these evictions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for nodding your head. That's essentially what stopped a lot of this. So as much as we might want our local judges to be able to do things, recognize there's some things that they can do in Orange County right now, because Orange County's eviction problem in no way mirrors what we have here. In no way mirrors what we have here. So I do want us to think about these requests we make, and not saying I'm totally on board. I don't want anybody to be evicted, but have realistic expectations about what folks can legally do to, and I'll say this, elections have consequences, because one of the first things that Judge Newby said was he didn't care about evictions. And 401 votes later, look at where we are. So those are the things I want us to really seriously think about when you make requests of us and say, hey, we want the commissioners to tell the judges to stop this. There are levels to this thing. And so just, again, like I said before, it was the first thing I said in my comment, the last thing, make sure the requests that you all are making of us are legal. And I'm just going to be quiet there.
And there is a difference in the way private home ownerships are handled versus housing authority.
Any other comments on that? If not, I can go to another question. Seems that there's some consensus about at least allowing what Ms. Gordon was saying, people not to get caught in this gap between that we could help if once the new program rolls out. So there may be certain types of folks that we want to have targeted. And it's a good, Commissioner Burns, that was a good point to make. Webb, did you want to speak, address this?
A quick comment in response to Commissioner Burns' good comments, which is you hear where as a group we're coming from in terms of trying to stop evictions. But I think we'd welcome your help in tailoring that request to be effective and practical. So we'll talk after this meeting offline, but get your help with that. Thank you. Appreciate it, Dan.
Thanks, Webb. Good. Well, the second question is not going to come as a surprise either. And it comes from Jim Savar, someone who's been very involved in the issue of taxes and the gentrification. How do you assess the limited response to the deferred payment approach to help vary income, to help the people with low income with their increased property tax bill? We understand that there was one applicant that was approved by the county and then completed by the homeowner, as well as one application that was 6 applications that were withdrawn when the owners realized that the deferred payments would have to be repaid in the future. What are your views about the best way to replace the deferred payment approach with an effective program?
Whichever commissioner wants to take that, go ahead. Commissioner Jacobs.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard anecdotally from folks that the fees and interest rate that would accrue with the tax deferral program was something that people were very concerned about. I've heard that from people in the community. So my personal position is that we do revisit the program that was supported by the Coalition for Affordable Housing and Transit, the low income, long-time homeowner tax assistant grants program. And now Mecklenburg County has implemented a very similar program. So we have a good precedent for that. And as Commissioner Carter very aptly expressed, when we look at what's happening with gentrification, with the impact of COVID, we know that this is one of the most effective ways to keep people in their homes and preserve wealth and address racial equity. So I think I personally am hoping that we will make that a priority in our budget for the coming year.
But I just want to say that I don't want to set people up that we can do something that we don't know if we do or not. I will rely on our legal advisors to tell us what the last time we tried to do this, our legal advice was you can do it if you want to, but you're putting yourself in a position of liability. So I'm not going to sit here and say to you that we can do this. I will tell you that we will rely on the county's legal folks to advise us what we can and cannot do. Because if we're sued, that's your tax dollars that gets given away. And not only that, individually, we can be liable. So I'm not going to sit and say we're going to do something we don't know if we can do it. If our attorneys come back and say, we can do this, I'm all on board. Absolutely.
We'll hopefully work toward that solution. I mean, that's what we really want to have happen.
Yeah, I would too, because I don't want anybody to be put out to lose their home. Sure. Not at all.
Let me change the subject here and go to the whole issue of
Daniel,
transit.
Can I just add a quick comment?
Of course.
Okay, because we've been working on this a long time, and I know that Commissioner Chair Howerton has as well. Commissioner Howerton, we have no interest in any commissioner having any personal liability or the county having any legal liability of this. It would just be the wrong thing to do, and we're not about that. Unfortunately, I think you may be in a situation where you have one person giving you legal advice at the county and other attorneys from other counties, municipalities across the state think that that's not good advice. The leading expert at the School of Government thinks that's bad advice. And so what I think we want to try and work to do is help you all out of that difficult place where you may not be getting the best legal advice on this one particular issue, and try and make it clear so that you all understand the different positions. You don't have to be a lawyer to understand them. You can understand them as an elected leader. And you can see that not only will you feel and the other commissioners feel safe in advancing this, but you'll feel that you're doing the same thing that other county commissioners, other city council members across the state are doing to try and help these folks that need help urgently and timely. So we'd ask you to work with us on that, even though it may involve you all listening to the legal advice you're getting, but then thinking we want to look to other leading legal voices and try and make the best judgment for our citizens. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate your comments, but we still have, we pay for legal advice, and we appreciate what you say, but you know, we still have to honor the legal advice that we're given. But I appreciate your sentiments. I really do.
I'd ask you to honor your residents and your citizens, and particularly the folks who are in this tough situation, and then try and find the best answer.
Absolutely.
It works for them.
Absolutely.
Good. We can work together on that. I mean, I think as Wib says, we have the same end in mind. We just figure out a way to get there.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to go to the transportation question I was going to give. Do you agree that the mobility needs of current transit riders, transit workers, and residents of low-income neighborhoods of color should be the first priority for investment of the Durham Transit Plan? That comes from John Talmadge, Mike Durham.
Can you repeat that question?
Could you repeat it?
Yeah.
Sure. Do you agree that the mobility needs of the current transit riders, transit workers, and residents of low-income neighborhoods of color should be the first priority for investment in the Durham Transit Plan?
Sure.
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 Good. Anyone else wish to address that? If it seems like there's agreement in that one, I think I can move on.
Well, I would just say a reason that should be our top priority is because we are trying to make our decisions guided by racial equity. You know, what's going to be the impact on racial equity, and also environmental sustainability. And you know, I really do believe that investment in transit for the users that you described is one of the best ways to promote both racial equity and shared prosperity, and improved health and improved education outcomes. It's just transit is the primary social determinant of economic well-being, health, and more. So that's why I think it makes sense.
Right. The next question comes.
Sir.
Sure, go ahead.
I just want to make it very clear. I think education is the biggest determining factor, but I will go this far to point out there were 2 surveys given. And if anybody watched the county commissioner's working session a couple of weeks ago, the survey that was given online was the respondents, 70% of them were considered white and wealthy, and they also did not ride the bus. When we had a door knocking team to go out, 60% of the respondents were, 40 to 60% were Black and poor, and they did ride the bus. So if for no other reason, the data shows us that if we want to improve transit, it needs to be for the people who actually ride it. And just by happenstance, those people happen to be Black and poor. So that's the reason why we need to focus on it. Not because, I mean, we can sit here all day and say, oh, Black people are poor and they're the ones that need jobs and education. No, they're who ride the bus. McDonald's does not make hamburgers for people who do not eat at McDonald's. So we don't need to make policy decisions about a bus for people who don't ride the bus. And as someone who rode the bus, I used to take the express from downtown to Raleigh every day when I worked at the Department of Justice because I didn't have a car. And so a couple of weeks ago, I remember my car was in the shop. I told Netta, I was like, before I get a rental, I'm going to take the bus. It was an education. And I did not do it for political points. Nobody knew, but it was an education because there had been a gap. But the thing is, even I know that I have limits of sitting at those tables because I have a car to get around. So if for no other reason, we need to focus on people of color in the port, it is because they ride the bus. And I hope that we leave here with that today, as opposed to saying, oh, those are the people who need it by virtue of the fact that they're underserved. No, they're the ones who ride the bus. And the last thing, when we asked them what was most important to them, if you go back, they did a word graph. The things that they pointed out about cleanliness, about lighted bus stops, these were things that we had not seen on any other survey at all. The things that they highlighted. So I would encourage everybody to go back and actually look at the survey that was done and look at the work that Ideal Collins did, because it's an education. And so I'll end there.
It's obvious we need to look at the people who use it to get the recommendations for what we do in the future. Thank you. We've exhausted our time for questions, but let me tell you what I'm going to propose to do. We have a few more, and we'll send them out to all of you. And if you want to respond to them, that's great. But we have a couple of announcements. Our commitments to get out of here by 1 o'clock, and it's 5 of us. So I'm going to turn it back to Rosa, who's going to finish out the meeting for us. But we'll send the questions that we didn't get a chance to ask to each of you. And I want to thank you. It's been a really good meeting, and I'm really proud to be in a county with the kind of leadership we have, and to see the changes we've made over the years, represented by your being here today and the responses we've gotten to your questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, I'm going to try to do this. We have Russell online that he would need to give us a 3 to, I don't know how we're going to squeeze it in, brother, but I'm going to let you work it. Comment, the spotlight on you. But before we do that, I'm interested in, I think it's Bonita Green and Vanessa Mason and Constant on this line. I know how they are the foot soldiers in the community, but they kind of quiet today. I was just real interested in what their thoughts were from just having conversation with real people. Besides the numbers, there are faces behind the data you get. So we get an opportunity after Russ. I would love to finish with something from the 3 of them. Russ, are you available to say something now, please?
Absolutely, and apologize that I ended up being a closing act rather than the opening act today, but delighted to be able to be part of the conversation with you. So just real briefly, many of you know the work of Housing for New Hope, and of course our founding executive directors, even on the call today, Terry Alabaugh. We just celebrated our 29th anniversary, so we're heading into our 30th year coming up next year. And just really quick, for those who don't know us well, key pieces that we do. We're an unusual agency because we are deeply ingrained in homeless services in the community, but also in affordable housing. Most often agencies do one or the other, but since our very beginning, we've really been able to bring those two pieces together. We are the city and county's designated unsheltered coordinating agency. What does that mean? We are the primary folks out on the streets on your behalf, connecting with our most vulnerable neighbors who are unsheltered. We are the primary provider of rapid rehousing, which means we're connecting with folks who are on the street or in shelter and getting them connected to housing with short-term financial support and case management. We are one of the main providers of permanent supportive housing, both with private landlords and then with our own 44 units over 2 communities. And then finally, we also offer affordable housing and have our region's first experiment with affordable co-housing, which won an award from the City County Beautification Commission, but has drummed up a lot of interest just because it's so very unusual to see, especially outside of California. So we're involved in a number of different pieces. And right now I will share just very quickly a couple pieces that are important to know. We often are the group who will convene conversations when something major is coming up and we need to find a solution. So we gathered a number of folks at the table to figure out how to handle white flag, which are those nights where it is simply too cold for folks to stay out of doors, and brought a number of partners together and came up with a plan that's getting us currently through a very challenging situation due to COVID. We have also been convening groups to talk more about landlord engagement. You know that we have skyrocketing rents here, and it is an incredible challenge to find units for our most vulnerable neighbors through our rapid rehousing programs. In many cases, I have more money to spend on those kinds of programs than I do units to get folks into. So we are partnering with DSS and others in the city, other partners, to find new ways to move that forward. We're also facing, this will be my last one, then I'll be quick. We are working diligently. The community has identified the need for at least 125 more spaces, either in with private landlords or simply new construction of permanent supportive housing for our neighbors who've been homeless for at least a year and have a disabling condition. In many cases, more than one. So we are working on all those pieces and would welcome other opportunities to connect and engage more deeply around these pieces.
Thank you for that very much. And look, we went over a little, we're not quite there yet. We're getting there. Where are you, Vanessa? Vanessa, can you say something about what your people are telling you about this transit progress? I want to hear, that's the community. I can't leave here without all of you are talking heads as far as I'm concerned. I just need to hear from the community. Where are you, Constant? And where are you, Bonita? And where are you, Vanessa? Give me a little something so I can lay my head down and be at peace.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Vanessa Mason Evans. I'm speaking on behalf of the community. This is a community that has, as well as Bonita's and Constance, all our communities have been uninvested in. And when you have communities that have not been invested in and you're raising people's taxes, for me, my taxes went up 100%, where I'm paying almost close to, I want to say almost $2,500 some just for taxes on my house. It's ridiculous. And nothing is coming back into our communities. We have no sidewalks, we have ditches, and we have people walking up ditches to get to bus stops. There are not enough bus stops. We have people riding in wheelchairs on the street because there are not enough sidewalks connected to have it where people are safe. People are concerned about having to walk 5 miles to a bus stop to get on a bus, or you see people walking groceries going back home to areas of Bragtown that are being developed further out into the county areas. So there are a lot of issues that are going on in my area as well as the Merrittmore area. I'll let Bonita speak for her community, but this is just, it's a lot of systemic racism that has gone on for decades, and that it has not changed even to this day. Constance and I are both ambassadors for the Durham Engage, and we have concerns, hoping that everything that we're working hard on and getting community members who have not been at the table, whether it's Black, brown, or indigenous people, we're hoping that the voices will truly be heard, because for decades there were only white people's voices that were heard. So we hope that many, many voices that we have been working with will get heard in this new comprehensive plan. I'm gonna pass it to Constance because we don't want to take up much time.
I think Constant may have left.
No, I'm still
Are you
here.
here? Go ahead, and then let's hear from Bonita. We're going to be at 5 minutes over. Go ahead.
Okay, but yeah, what Vanessa said is everything that I was thinking. I did ask the question. It just seems like everything centers around downtown Durham. You know, all the transit, everything centers around people that already have. You know, they already have. We have nothing out here. And I was telling them, you know, we pay taxes. $1,500 a year is what I pay. If 300 people in my block, in my area, my immediate area of Bragtown pay that much, that's $435,000 in just this area. Now, just think about all the people in Bragtown paying taxes like that, but we get absolutely nothing. But we are asked to be on committees that, you know, target downtown Durham, target gentrify areas, and it's just not fair. So yeah, I mean, it's not fair. So you know, it's like taking money from me after I paid for my groceries, but I can't take my groceries with me. I'm just giving it to somebody. So that's just my thoughts. But anyway.
All right, quickly, Benita, do you have anything to add?
I sure do. You know, the thing to think about in these rural areas, Merritt-Moore doesn't have bus transportation at all. So either you are driving or you are walking along a 2-lane road that has no shoulder, that has no sidewalks. It's a very, very dangerous situation to be able to commute to and from work. The closest bus stop here is Hardy Street at Cheek Road, and then on Gear Street. I feel personally that the tracking system, the way the buses are routed, needs to be changed, needs to be outdated. It needs to be on a grid system. I've lived in cities that had a better transportation system. I had a car, but if my car breaks down, it's like, okay, I can take the bus to get to where I need to do. I can't do that where I live now. So the tracking system, the routing system needs to be changed to where these buses overlap and intersect each other instead of just going one way, turning around and going back. That's a waste of resources, you know, and so you need to have those better resources. You need to also invest in covered bus stops and safe spaces for these people to wait at the bus stops, you know, so and lights there. So if they're going and coming to and from at night, we need to have those, but an overall update in the infrastructure in these areas, because you're building vastly, you're adding more and more traffic to roads that are not equipped for it, but there's been no plan to invest in improvements in those roads, yet those taxes go up more and more. So it's 5 after. I'm going to stop right there. I say a whole lot more, but
I thank you so much. And that's the heart of the community. Wherever you see me, I'm going to stand on that stand. And I know you're not going to kick me out because all of you love me and I love you. And we mean what we say. I feel you. But I wanted to thank you so much. I don't have to add. You are such a sweetheart for putting that in for us, the event, the future meeting and so forth. Come again, Commissioner. We're watching you. We are with you. We're behind you. And if there's nothing else for me, can we bring this to a close and end at this time?
Rosa, you always leave me speechless and breathless. I would say that there's a couple of updates that subjects we've talked about and may not need more conversation at this point, but if you wanted to quickly ask Jim Svar, John Talmadge, Ms. Green, Benita Green, and Larissa Seibel if they had any final words. If not, then we can go ahead and close.
Please follow through. I appreciate you.
Just very quickly, I would like to thank everyone on behalf of Merritt-Moore community who supported us by sending letters or signing up for the meeting or speaking. Thank you so much. You truly helped us to you know, win our cause and to just make an impact on what is needed here, the investments that's needed in the infrastructure and sidewalks in Durham. Thank you.
Okay.
Who was the other person?
Jim Svar, have you got anything to add at this point?
Just real quick, we appreciate the openness of the commissioners to looking for a new approach to tax assistance grants. We are also working with the legislative delegation to see if they can get some clarification at the state level, and we will continue to pursue that. And we appreciate their support advancing this cause.
I don't mean to cut in, but I know Jim had talked about the taxes. The reason why you only had one person to respond and everybody else dropped off is because there's no trust with Durham and people losing their houses. Just so you know, I think a lot of people pulled out because they wasn't comfortable with what plans were made on that tax bracket. Things need to change because people don't want to pay taxes, and then other than not paying up front, in the end, they'll be paying with interest. So a lot of people were afraid that they would end up losing their houses. So that's just another way of gentrification, just so people know that may be the reason why. Thank you.
Right. You're welcome. Is John, are you still with us?
John's here. I'm actually going to jump in for him real quick. I'm Eric Landfried. I'm the Transit Equity Campaign coordinator or manager. just very quickly, I put it in the chat, but we do have we've set up a Q&A and a presentation with Go Triangle about the commuter rail project on this coming Wednesday. So I put my email in there. If you are interested in joining that, that is open to any members of the public. Please do so. You can send me an email and I'll add you to that invitation. Otherwise, I really appreciate all the thoughts that commissioners and the community members have shared here today. It's very valuable.
Thank you. Larissa, darling, I didn't mean to overlook you. Please say something about eviction. Give us something, okay?
Just two quick things while we were meeting. Judge Patricia Evans wrote, and she hopes that DSS does get that rental assistance ready soon. It's very much needed. And I also wanted to lift up Jane Williams' comment at 1244 on the chat that not everyone can receive assistance from the federal and state and county programs. And there's some need for another fund. I believe that's what Jane Williams was mentioning, that churches try to step in, but they don't have enough to really help all the people who cannot get the help they need. So that's something to keep in mind. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, where are we, Will? Are we good to go?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. We appreciate you so much. Again, I love you guys. Thank you. Look forward to the teamwork and God bless you, okay?
Yeah. Bye-bye.